Test one, test two, test three, test.
Good morning, everyone. If we could start taking our seats to begin. Hmm? Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Escucha mejor. Test. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone. We're gonna begin. Okay. Good morning, everyone. We have a full house today, and we see a lot of new people in the room. So, just a little bit on how it goes today. For those of you that are new here, I'm going to go over some few things about what 1 Million Cups is and why we gather here every Wednesdays at 9. Okay. Okay. Okay, so 1 Million Cups has the mission to create a consistent educational experience for each 1 Million Cups presenter nationwide. So this program is part of the Kaufman Foundation. It's a foundation that works towards entrepreneurship, and this program happens every Wednesdays at 9 a.m. all over the nation. Well, the cities that have this program, but it happens all over the nation. We are the newest 1 Million Cups in the Southwest region, right on the tip of Texas, and we are very excited. We just started this year, and we hope that it continues on with the help of all of you. Okay, so a little bit of what 1 Million Cups is. The presentations that you see here today and every Wednesdays are meant to be presentations that storytell journeys of entrepreneurship. They're not meant to be pitches. They're not meant to be selling something. And then the connections that you create here are meant to they're meant to be authentic creation or connections that last, not just network and leave. A little bit of the core program, like I said, it's held every Wednesdays at 9 a.m. We typically have 1 to 2 presenters that come here to present, and we always have coffee. If you're interested in being a coffee sponsor or a presenter, reach out to any of us that have the 1 Million Cup shirt that are attending the event today. Okay, for today's coffee sponsor, we would like to thank Mr. Steve from Velox Global Solutions. Thank you for keeping us caffeinated today. Okay, and we're going to start with the presentations. At this time, if you can please silence your phones in respect for our presenters. Okay, and our first presenter, I don't know if he's here yet. Michael Trevino? No, he's not here yet. Okay, so our first presenter is going to be Mario Gonzalez. He's the founder of Creator Consulting IOI.
Is my presentation? Okay. Cool. All right. Good morning, everyone. So before I begin, I like to express that first and foremost, I'm a very competitive individual, and I mean, all a presentation is a battle or a competition between the speaker trying to get his point across and the audience trying to get something from the presentation. So I encourage you guys to make this hard on me and try to jot down any questions that you guys might have throughout this presentation. All right. So the goal of this presentation is going to be to shorten your time horizon when it comes to achieving your ideal life with online business. So here's our 6-ish minute agenda. I'm going to go over my story and what I do. And because I didn't want to shy away from my own true nature and just talk all about myself, I'm going to boil down the points and share how you can do the same thing that I did in less time. All right. So up until this point, I have not introduced myself. My name is Mario Gonzalez. I'm 22 years old. And I'm not going to go back until the moment I was born. The only thing I can say about my childhood is that I had a very normal upbringing. I'm grateful to God that it wasn't particularly rough in any way, right? But I'm only going to go back 5 years from now to 2019 when that was the year I graduated high school. I was a very average student, not many friends. But the only notable thing that happened that year was that I got my first 9-to-5 job, right? I got my first job at a not very well-known, low-key fast food restaurant called Whataburger. Have any of you guys heard of Whataburger? Yeah? Okay, cool. Well, I worked there, right? And funny story, the first month that I worked there, a very big thing happened in my life, right? I met an individual, co-worker that got promoted to assistant manager within a month of working there, right? I ended up meeting him, and I was in awe at the fact that somebody could work hard, gain more responsibility, get rewarded for it, and get paid more, right? So what that did to me is I became obsessed with trying to do the same thing, right? And by the end of that year, I got that assistant manager position that I wanted so much. And through college here at TSTC in Harlingen, I ended up working a lot more, right? For the next 2 years, I got 2 more promotions. I became manager, and then I became general manager, right? And why am I telling this? This is an entrepreneurship presentation. Why am I talking about a job? Right? But it's because it's not very well known, but the general manager position at that company is a 6-figure salary position, right? And at 21 years old, this meant that I was making more than more than double what any member of my family had ever made, right? So what this meant was the social pressure from my family, my friends, my peers, it almost led me to have that I made it mentality. Right? It almost made me complacent. And throughout that year, I started asking myself questions like, is this all I'm ever going to be? Am I going to be here 20, 30 plus more years like the rest of my peers? And I grew kind of sad and borderline depressed, right? So I started looking for more solutions. What can I do to get myself out of this? I started looking to different side hustles. And because I was working a lot, I had to go online, right? I started looking at different side hustles online. And I don't believe in side hustles that much. I always believe that anything I've ever benefited from in my life has been when I went all in on something, right? So I went all in, and after I made my first couple dollars, I did one of the most responsible things any logical human would do, and I left my 9-to-5, right? So I'm not gonna lie, briefly, I fell flat on my face. Nothing worked out. But a year later, I can say now that as I'm standing here presenting, I run a $500,000 a year run rate online business. Okay? You might be asking what I do. My company manages and builds end-to-end sales teams for other online businesses. This is a picture of our biggest month in July, where we generated $50,000 in revenue, and our current month's revenue, where we're at $20,000 for the month of October, right? So as promised, I'm gonna go over how you can do the same thing in less time, and I boiled it down to 3 different points. What things exist to sell online, how to pick your thing, and how to sell that thing, right? So what things can you sell online? 3 different types exist: physical goods, digital products, and services. So physical goods are anything like clothes, basically stuff that you ship out to customers. Digital products are stuff like courses, softwares, ebooks are the most popular. Services is stuff what my company sells, right? This is stuff like consulting, marketing, designing. Now that we've gone over what things exist to sell, let's go over how do you know if it's the right thing for you. Brief lesson, I'm pretty sure all of you guys here know what product market fit is basically when people want your thing and it sells easily. So how can you ask yourself? The first thing you want to ask yourself is, does it help? Does your product make life easier for someone else? Lastly, something that kind of uniquely applies to online business is it different and unique to you? Online business is very vast, meaning you could sell literally almost anything. And it's very important to differentiate yourself by selling something that is unique to you and your experiences, right? So we've gone over what things exist now, and we've gone over how to pick your own thing. So next, how to sell that thing. These are key takeaways that you must know before selling your thing online. First is your company name isn't important because nobody online buys from a company, they buy from people, right? If you guys notice, I haven't brought up my company name once throughout this whole presentation because it's far more important to me and to anybody online that after this presentation, I'm Mario, the online business guy or the online business presentation guy, right? That's far more valuable. It's far more important that whoever comes across from you online associates your product or service with your name versus your company name. This way, no matter what you sell right now or what you sell 20 years from now, holds its value just because it's you selling it. Right? So now that we've gotten that out of the way, how do you actually start selling and attracting your ideal customers? The first thing you want to do is you want to pick a social platform. This is going to be something like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. Next, you want to post on it regularly. And by what I mean regularly is literally post on it like your life depends on it. This can be weekly, but daily is encouraged. And sometimes even multiple times a day is even more encouraged. And you want to talk about how you help people and what your thing does, right? How it helps other people and provide a lot of value that way. What that's going to do, it's going to attract and gather a following of your ideal customer base. All you do afterwards is you just keep repeating the process until it gets better and better and starts generating more for you. So we've gone over what things exist, how to pick your thing, and how to sell your thing. Now, if I were to be sitting in your shoes 4, 3, 2 years ago from now, I'd be thinking, there's no way that this applies for me, and there's no way that I can take away anything from this. So this is why I wanted to end this presentation by talking about some real-world examples on how this applies to everybody. This is Steve, somebody in my network that I know personally, and his real-world experience was he had a very humble beginning. His father owned a small construction company, and just like everybody else, he joined the family business, right? And because he wanted to do something different and make more money for himself and his family, he started learning marketing and sales for his construction company. He became pretty good until he was the biggest construction company in his little area, his little town. Imagine biggest company in Bronzeville, construction company in Bronzeville. So what did Steve decide to do afterwards? He picked the product, right, which is marketing for other construction companies. He picked the platform, as you guys can see. He picked Instagram. He posted on it regularly, and he started growing a following there. Steve's biggest month was last month, where he generated just over $200,000 in revenue, right? Lastly, to wrap all of this up, this is myself. So from a bird's eye view, I've had a very, very ordinary life, right? I had a regular 9 to 5 at a fast food joint. I grew a passion for managing others. I decided, you know what? I picked the product, employee management, and consulting. I picked the platform to post on regularly, which was YouTube, and I gathered a following to sell to, right? So the biggest takeaway from this is ask yourself what your real world experience is. That's pretty much it. So I'm guessing it's time for questions, if there is any. Yep, go ahead.
So do you take a percentage of the sales, or do you get consulting revenues? How does your revenue stream work?
So there's multiple different streams. Obviously, this was pretty short, so I couldn't go over the different types of payment options that I offer or that exist. But I first started on a commission basis where I would take a percentage of the revenue that I bring in. Now, since I have, I guess, to show from previous work, I now charge a fee up front, and that's pretty much it. I think especially online fees up front are way better because you can use the capital. Like any business, you can use the capital and allocate it to service delivery. Right? I think there was a question here.
Yeah, and I was wondering, when you're still like considering doing Whataburger and like doing the jump, like right before you start building your audience, like how did you decide to focus like in this niche? You know, like how did you end up like doing this kind of? You mentioned you're good at managing people, but
Yeah.
how did you start building that audience, right? Like, how do you go from, not being experienced online to actually like, getting out there and starting to put content out? Like,
Yeah.
How do you decide what content you're going to produce, etc.?
Yeah, so I wish I would have had a picture here, but in my YouTube channel, I mean, there's like I think 96 videos on there, right? That's not all the videos I've made. I've made like 300 plus, right? But I think it's just about finding your ground. Like I said, I fell flat on my face for a while, right? Because I didn't know these 3 steps, right? If you just stick to this, whether you're working right now at a 9 to 5, it'll make yourself have a easy exit. So most of the time people doubt putting stuff out or picking something. I just recommend picking something and sticking to it for as long as you can. If you like it, good, stick with it. If you don't like it, then just jump and move to the next thing, right? Hopefully that answers your question. Cool. Yeah. Is there anybody else?
So about your capacity. So you're a consultant, are you using some software to help people, or it's only you with your knowledge?
Yeah, no, so it's myself with my team, right? So my team, I have a team of internal, I guess you could say managers for different types of roles that apply to all their online businesses. For example, online sales reps, right? Sales development representatives, stuff of the sorts. And we basically go in and implement different softwares if there isn't any. Some stuff is pretty basic like CRMs, follow-up sequences, but we just implement or recommend or consult people on the softwares they should use. But we basically go in and do the dirty work of actually training the people.
So my concern for you would be like, do you know your capacity? How many clients can you have a specific time working with?
Yeah, so we have about 4 to 5 high ticket clients at a time. When we do done for you, when my team actually goes and does something, right? But in order to mitigate that capacity problem that I did run into at a certain point, I started offering just consulting and coaching on my end. So I have a group of people that pay me a certain amount of money just to literally just to talk to them, right? Yep, go ahead.
Since you mentioned you have a YouTube channel, will assist setting up YouTube channel, the whole ecosystem?
Yeah, so part of that, yeah. Well, I personally don't do that as a service. I know people that do in my network, but when we talk about consulting and sales, part of that is growing an audience. So I do advise a lot of people on how to do the same thing all the time. I don't personally do it, but I do give the best knowledge that I have regarding around what I've done and I've accomplished. Cool.
What do you think with a client that might be selling something that is not with a good quality or something that's gonna be bad reputation for a certain one?
Yeah, so me personally, I'm grateful to be in the position where I just don't take them, right? Yeah, I just don't take them at the moment. Go ahead.
So you mentioned consultancy, but would you, I don't know, would it be like mentorship in sales, mentorship in marketing? Where do you fit in as a consultant?
As a consultant, yeah, I mean, I guess it's overall online business, but it's mostly, you're right, it's all marketing and sales. That's mostly all I talk about and preach, right? Because, I mean, that's what a lot of people struggle with at least, or could always use help with. Yeah. So that's the umbrella coaching for marketing and sales. Go ahead.
How do you handle clients that are not open to feedback? They hire me, but they're not open to change.
Yeah.
They have their own way.
Yeah. So again, at the beginning of my journey, I didn't know this, but something that you guys could take home is something that is called a conditional guarantee, right? So a lot of people in business think, oh, a guarantee's in place just so I don't give this guy his money back, right? But a conditional guarantee is actually something to ensure that your client and yourself actually have a good relationship, right? So a conditional guarantee for me in our contract states, you're going to be communicating 2 times per day. You're going to be posting X amount of content. You're going to be giving us feedback here. You're going to be responding to our messages. And we put that conditional guarantee in place just in case of we run into those scenarios. Because I have run into those scenarios where, hey, somebody pays an absurd amount of money to work with us, and they just don't reach back ever, you know. But then again, that could come back and bite me and etc. But now we have what's called a conditional guarantee, right? So I use that to make sure that people know our standards. Go ahead.
For a lot of business owners, they get so wrapped up in dealing with their own product, they have trouble producing routine content for social media.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Do you help to allocate content for them, or
Yeah.
strictly driven back to the customer?
So sales, especially online, is always going to be correlated with content. The more content you put out, the more money you make. So a part of the consulting, I have somebody in my team, like sort of like a virtual assistant, I guess you could call it. I call it a virtual content assistant, right? And their job is to just come up with content ideas and post them for you, right? They walk around their day, right? My friend here is actually making some of the content that's going to be sent to them, right? Just so they can be dispersed whenever I need it. Because you're right, it's very important, but not everybody has the time to do so. So what I would recommend for somebody in that position is, like anything, delegate it if you can't handle it yourself, or delegate something else that would free up the time to do so. But the best thing to do is hire somebody to do it for you. Hire somebody to have that vision to make content out of thin air when you're not even thinking about it. Go ahead.
In your presentation, you mentioned that the name was not important.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that? The name is important. Branding is important.
Yeah.
People don't buy a product or service; they buy it because they believe in the cost of the something, right? So, what do you mean when you say that the name is not important?
Yeah, so I meant company name isn't important, right? Because online business is done from a person-to-person basis, right? So I mean, if Steve Jobs were to start a company right now, Steve Jobs would build a personal brand, and Apple would be kind of like, yes, you're buying from Apple, but you're buying from Steve Jobs. You get me? So, meaning that it's harder to transact with people because you can't put a face to it. So if I were to instead of having my name on my YouTube channel and literally title it what my company is, it'd be one way harder to get views because who's gonna watch or associate anything with that? So once I start portraying my name out there, then I have the freedom and the longevity of maneuvering and sticking my name to where it's needed. Does that make sense? Sticking my name to switching my company or pivoting my company in whatever direction I need it. But online, especially since there is a lot of people out there, there's a bunch of construction company advertising.com. There's a bunch of variations of that if you search it up. So the only thing that differentiates you is if you just start building around your own name. It's the only thing that you have. Right? Yo. Cool. Go ahead.
A lot of people put .io or
Yeah.
literally is what is the
IO. So IO is because it's for people that can't afford the .com. There's a there's a running joke in the entrepreneurship community that everybody uses IO because in the beginning everybody owes, you know, like they get in debt to start their company, so it's IO. Yeah. Yeah. But in this one, it's just because IO is not currently known. It's usually used for startups of the sorts. AI? Of course. No, of course I am. So at the beginning, I used to have a really big team. I was a fan of building the biggest company around, right? Huge team, a lot of overhead, right? Then payroll started being 10K per month. And I was like, you know what? Like, this can't be it. I started learning about AI. So now what's happening online, there's a big movement to actually let go of a lot of people that you have and just have very few key players that just use AI tools, because that's where the future is headed. People think AI is going to replace jobs. AI isn't going to replace jobs. A person utilizing AI is going to be able to replace a lot of jobs at once. And that's where the market is going. And, mhm.
So the opportunities is AI.
The opportunities, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, utilizing AI is very, very key because it allows you to have a very lean team that is 3, 4, 5 times more productive. Exactly. Cool. Go ahead.
Bueno, una pregunta y luego lo vamos a hablar.
Sí, sí. Sí, sí.
Mario,
Mario.
por ejemplo, ¿qué necesito yo para ser tu cliente? Y me refiero a yo como cualquier otra persona. Aquellas empresas que van empezando o por lo que tú cobras, debería ser una empresa bien confiada, bien establecida, ya con suficiente capital para contratarte como consultor. O tú agarras una compañía desde el principio y dices, vamos, la vamos a crecer. Esa es una. Y la segunda que va a pegar con eso. Lo tuyo es pura consultoría. O básicamente lo agarras y dices, así lo vamos a hacer porque si yo no sé hacer las cosas,
Sí.
y tú me dices, haz esto, pues vas a hacerlo, pues vas a hacerlo. Consultoría la puedes agarrar por muchos lados.
Claro.
Pero, ¿qué es tu función? Si yo soy cliente tuyo, ¿qué puedes hacer conmigo? Esas son las preguntas.
Okay. I can answer in English? Okay. Well, the first thing that I would answer is because the second question was way faster to answer, which is I don't just say, do this. We actually go in and for the most part, do all of it for you or with you, wherever we can't just do it for you, right? So my team is trained on coaching your team and also, if need be, start selling or start creating content, whatever it might be. Your second question referred back to, your first question referred, I'm sorry, could you repeat the first question? Okay, cool. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So, like you said, yes, I'm grateful I can pick my own. So the ones that I choose to pick and tend to pick are usually not at the beginner stage, meaning I guess I would classify beginner online as anyone making maybe less than 5,000 generated from their company per month, right? But what I look for is I look for somebody that ideally they would be more along in their journey, right? Not just revenue wise, but sophisticated up in here because sometimes there might be someone on the younger side like myself, but they don't have any of the experience. They're out of high school. They've never run a business at all. And they worked a 9 to 5 and now they have 10 grand saved up to just spend on whatever they want. Obviously, I'm not gonna lie to you, at the beginning of my journey, I did take it on. I was like, whatever. But obviously it didn't work out well for both parties because if there's no sophistication on the learning side or on the revenue side, then I can't steer the business on the right direction when there is none. You know what I mean? So I think that answers your question, or there was a second part to that, right?
Yo sé que hay muchas cosas que son las
Sí, sí,
muy
sí.
difíciles.
Sí.
Pero, por ejemplo, tú me vas a decir, yo te voy a cobrar $10,000. ¿Cuánto te sale de lo que yo te digo? O me dices, no, podemos empezar con un plan, podemos ir creciendo. A eso me refiero. ¿Cuál es tu base de clientes? ¿Quién de los que estamos aquí se puede llegar contigo hoy? Y decir, ¿sabes qué? Bueno, vamos a trabajar.
Well, I think the criteria would be more people who are online mostly, right? Because that's where I can be more there. I've personally never actually worked with a physical business on different aspects. But what I would do and what I do online most of the time, especially with my content, is I try to educate people to the point where I can help them, to get to where I can help them, right? So out of anybody here, I don't know. I haven't really worked with fully physical businesses in the past. Would I be open to do it? I always like to try things out, but I would just help where I can based at no cost and then just see where the partnership can go if there could be one, you know. I hope that makes sense. Yes. Okay, cool. Go ahead.
No, it's great what you do. It's great, your presentation. What can our community do for you so you can also help? So we can help you spread that. Your services.
Yeah, well, I'm not really looking for looking to spread the services. What I'm really looking to do personally, and why wanted to present here, was to share share opportunity, because there's nothing like the former me looking at this presentation and seeing, not just seeing how to do it, but seeing the possibilities of different things. Because sometimes people take a traditional path, or they have a different understanding of what a business life could be when there's different. So me personally, there's nothing that I want my service to be spread over, because it isn't, I guess, my ideal client base. It wouldn't be a good partnership because I wouldn't provide the best, and it wouldn't be the best for me as well. But I'm just looking to spread the message in general, that there's more options, and especially online, that the options are literally infinite, right? So I guess
Now
just,
that you're saying
yeah,
that, sorry,
go ahead.
So, so most of your clients are not here from Bali. You usually go with your clients from other places or from other areas.
Yeah, so I mean, I have clients here in Texas, but again, they all have online businesses, right? So no like physical in-store locations, right? So I guess the only thing that you could do is spread the message that there's more to do online, you know? Yeah. Cool.
One more for you.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Going back to like the beginning, how did you land your first client?
How did I land my first client? It was a lot of just sheer will and cold calling and stuff like that. But how did I get my first high paying good client? Was through content, 100%.
So they just reached out to you.
Reached out to me.
Just like
Reach out to me organic. That was by far the best.
So, last question, sorry.
No, go ahead.
As a creative consultant, what makes you unique compared to like other consultants that either do sales or any other content?
Yeah. So with that, you might have to have a little bit more knowledge of what there is online to know what our angle is. But our angle is small team, AI, content, scale, right? When right now, if you start looking at how to make money online on YouTube or wherever, you're gonna find literally the opposite of that teaching you, right? So once you go through that phase or you skip it, you're going to find that that's our unique angle, that we're about being very lean, being very fast, and being very malleable to the market, and mostly all organically, right? Not through paid advertising or other media. Cool. Go ahead.
Are you based out of Brazil? Yes, Northwest, or
What do you mean Northwest?
I presume you work from commercial,
Boy, yeah, I just work from home.
but you're west, north, Brazil?
I think it's North Brownsville. Yeah, North Brownsville. Yeah. Oh, yeah, North Brownsville. Cool. Is there any questions? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, Mario. I hope you're going to stick around in case our audience wants to interact with you afterwards. So we have a few minutes left, and we had a request by our coffee sponsor that he wanted to say some words. So, Steve.
Can you go to the webpage? Alrighty. So good afternoon, or sorry, good morning. Yeah. So a few months ago, when we did our presentation on VLOGs, we were talking about logistics and maritime cargo. Today, I want to talk about office automation. We do develop a lot of work bots that work behind the scenes, and that's why I was talking about, getting rid of jobs, because jobs really don't make money anyway. We're trying to create opportunities, and that involves with any type of companies that need those type of things. That, I got to hire another clerk for $20, because, as you know, teenagers want $25 or $20 an hour, right? But sometimes those are just clerks, data entry. There's a lot of technology to get rid of the data entry. There's a lot of technology to do the data processing. So that's what I wanted to plug in to let know everybody that there's a lot of technology. AI is not just for content and creativity stuff. There's a lot of stuff that can be done for the offices. So in office automation, you can literally get rid of 8 hours of something and do it in 8 minutes. Okay. And that has nothing to do with marketing. That's just the back end, the office, the processing, the administration. That some of you might not like that part. For example, I don't like accounting, right? But I just grab my bank account feed, pass it through a bot, and I'm done in 2 minutes. I got rid of my accountant many years ago, which is was the data clerk, right? I got what is this for? What did you spend this for? I mean, come on, what are you asking me for, right? So automation can be classified. You can have the codes, and this comes from import and export. I've been doing harmonized codes and all that stuff. So it's literally descriptions and codifying, and so that's where the processing comes from, and that goes very nice into accounting or any type of other support services. So just wanted to plug that in. Now, on Velox Global Solutions, another plugin, uh, and if you know anybody on the import and export field that is probably thinking, why don't we have container ships in the Port of Brownsville? Okay, there's a law that's been blocking us for 100 years. It's called the Jones Act since 1920. We're going to try to make a push to overturn it. It's not going to be overnight. So we need anybody that's in the import export community to, group with us. It's not going to be overnight, but then again, didn't Roe and Wade law flip, and people thought that was in stone. This has been in stone since the 1920s. We need to flip it. Why is that important for the Port of Brownsville? Because we will now be able to have a container ship service Brownsville. And you're saying, why don't they come? Because the Jones Act says they can only go to one port of entry. 99.9999 are foreign carriers. They have Panamanian flags, other types of flags that are not Americans. So they have to go to Houston, and they can't touch New Orleans. They go to Altamira. Or if they go to Altamira and New Orleans, you see, they skip Brownsville. They skip Brownsville. They skip Brownsville. And it's going to stay like that for 80 years if we don't do something about it as a community. So if you know anybody in the import export field and wondering about this, it can be done. Now, why is this important? This is a base. Because if this is done, then manufacturers start looking at our area. Wow, if I get this and this, I can do it cheaper than Monterrey, cheaper than Querétaro, cheaper. You see? Cheaper. And that's what the manufacturers want. Cheaper ways of production. And the story there, if you want to read on it, is the city called Shenzhen. That's a Chinese city. Back in the 1950s, was 3,000 people. And the government established logistics first, and the manufacturing came. That's what we're trying to showcase. But anyway, so I just wanted to plug that in. I don't know if you have any questions or little comments on international trade. I've been at it since 1995, so it's a lot of years. And the last time I mentioned I've been programming since 1983, so I'm a 40-year-old veteran. Got a lot of word games, a lot of word stories. Any questions? If not, go ahead. It's a good model to copy. Chinese hubs, Chinese central manufacturing, where everything is so centralized, it becomes a manufacturing hub and a logistics hub. And there's a guy, and I'll quote him. He gave me permission to quote him. He's from the logistics clusters. Okay, you can look him up on YouTube. And Sophie is his first name. And he said, build the logistics first, and the manufacturing comes. We did a reverse 40 years ago. We did manufacturing, and that's why we don't get maquilas. We don't get any maquilas. We've been flat. We've been flat for 28 years, and we will stay flat.
Goals instead of that? Are we those guys, or what is the process? Or is it that cheap?
It will be cheaper because let's say an executive in Detroit or auto industry or whatever industry, medical industry, they're thinking, should I go to Asia? Should I go to Asia? Like, oh, Mexico, they have it all together. That attracts them, and then they look at logistics because logistics is very costly. It's not just labor, right? We're cheaper than China nowadays. Okay, we are, but it's not just labor. It's also the ecosystem, the logistics. For example, right now, the reason we don't get maquilas and matamoros is because it takes $2,000 to move a container from Houston
to Matamoros and then take it back. And then if you use a container, then you mess it up and then you forget about it. And then you have penalties. And by the time you know it's $3,000, it's crazy. And it's very frustrating for them. That's one of the barriers that they don't show up in Matamoros. Why do they show up in Monterrey? Because there's a better logistics ecosystem. And they have no port. It's ridiculous. Yes, sir. Sí, español está bien. Ya he practicado por 25 años.
¿Cuál es la razón principal por la cual no lo han hecho si es bien obvio al ser costo y al ser frontera, que es un punto clave que
Sí.
demasiado exponencial? No nada más Matamoros, Monterrey, etc.
Sí.
Me dedico un poco a la logística.
Ah, ok.
Estuve cotizando en exportación y tenía que ser a Houston, pues pagas transporte a Houston, pagas transbordo, pagas transporte local, todo eso. Sube a 1,500.
Jones. Write it down. Jones. La ley nos sigue bloqueando por 100 años. The Jones Act. Esa ley dice que los barcos marítimos, 99.999 son extranjeros, no son americanos. So, si tienes un barco de containers que va de Houston a New Orleans, a Baltimore, tiene que ser americano, tiene que tener empleados americanos y tiene que ser 100% dueños de americanos. Are you kidding me? No existen. That industry is gone. Entonces, este es a big industry law. Y yes, if they see me on YouTube, as you know, we got to throw the first, launch here. Pero as community, we have to try. If the law with Roe Wade was overturned, this is possible. Yes. Es más, vamos a hablar de eso. La razón que esto es posible es porque el LNG ya va a abrir las cosas aquí. Por LNG inversiones, por LNG haciendo que el puerto haga más profundo el canal. Estos barcos se pueden acercar. Pero los barcos no se van a acercar porque dicen, no, pues es que toda la lana está en Houston y los contratos están en Houston y Houston no va a soltar esto, no lo va a soltar fácil. Por eso lo tenemos que hacer como comunidad y los que están siendo golpeados ahorita son las maquilas de Matamoros y los de Reynosa y los de Monterrey. Porque como tú lo acabas de decir ahorita, tienes que jalarlo por acá y tienes que hacer esto y para cuando sepas ya está $2,500 por container. Pero si esto se hace aquí, legalmente, ¿cuánto va a costar para bajar un container? 200, lo cruzas 200, lo regresas 200, es casi la mitad. Y luego si le pones, y ahí tengo unos grafiquitas, Jorge, el del quad, si le puedes enseñar el de quad, ¿ves ese camión que tiene 4 containers? Y ahora pon autonomous. Las maquilas van a volver locas. Va a decir, me estás diciendo que me va a costar $1,000 menos, pero si esos camiones entran, me va a costar $100, $100 para cruzar 4 contenedores sin chofer, sin contratiempos. Y por eso el otro paso es the smart bridge. Tenerlo todo electrónico, digital, autonomous, hydrogen, whatever. Esto no se puede hacer en los otros puertos porque van a estar como 40 años esperando los permisos del puente, que esto, que lo otro. Aquí tenemos un permiso que ha estado dormido por 40 años. Nomás lo tenemos que despertar. Y una inversión colectiva, ¿verdad? No nomás es la ciudad, no nomás es el condado, no nomás es el gobierno federal. Quieren ver si hay business, ¿verdad? Pero bueno, es todo lo que tenía. ¿Otra pregunta? Hablen con los proveedores de import-export. Los que están en el negocio quieren hacer más negocios. Y si tú conoces a alguien en el negocio de trucking o el negocio de forwarding o el negocio de freight brokering o el negocio de customs brokering, esos son los que se tienen que acercar para poder agruparnos, juntar. Primero entender qué tenemos que quitar. Para que esto... Hay un grupito chiquito ahorita. Hay un grupito chiquito y está creciendo, pero ahorita los estamos moviendo porque las cosas se movieron. ¿Quién iba a pensar que se iba a poner un LNG ayer? A ver, ¿quién levante la mano aquí? 8 years ago. Oh, va a venir 16 billion. Really? Ni soñábamos 16 billion. Y puedo estar equivocado en los 16 billion, 18 billion. Aquí está bueno. ¿Cuántos estadios de los Cowboys son esos? Eso es like 6, man. I mean, come on, son bastantes. Es mucha inversión. Es mucha inversión. Pero esa inversión es un overspill. Nos está beneficiando porque se va a hacer profundo el canal. Yay. Pero no hay service. ¿No? ¿Dónde está el barco? I need the boat. ¿Me entiendes? Entonces, eso lo tenemos que armar nosotros como comunidad. Yes?
I really like how you're connecting this to development and manufacturing. And I think if this thing could be encapsulated to, overturning the law is part of this economic development, part of the manufacturing. It's all in one big bubble, has one big thing. Then it becomes more than just overturning the law. It becomes economic development. It becomes manufacturing. And for instance, 8A or veteran-owned businesses, when they do contracts with the federal government, they cannot have any materials from China. It all has to come from outside of China or a few other countries. They're off the list.
Yeah.
So that's part of that bubble development that occurs in manufacturing, because that can also reduce costs for the federal government by being able to have logistics here, manufacturing here, and rolling it through. So the idea is to build a whole big bubble that can explain how just getting rid of this law will make this happen, this happen, this happen, this happen, and
Yeah.
give it a brand name as an initiative.
Yeah, that's why we're calling it the Shenzhen.
What is it?
That's why we call it the new Shenzhen. It's Chinese. That city, esa ciudad, en 1950s, nomás eran 3,000 en un pueblito pequeño. Y luego el gobierno metió logistics, mix, ¿verdad? We're going to have the foreign trade zone. We already have that. And then we're going to have the free trade zone. We already have that in Matamoros. Okay, so now the big ships come in. We have it. We just don't have the services. You see? We're so close. Now, when you put all this environment together, it's so cheap because you can put the smart trucks, the smart bridge. AI is here. ChatGPT is not what we're using. Okay, ChatGPT, I'm sorry, I'm going to call it, is baby AI. We're not using that. We're using the other additional accessorial tools that are connected to the other things that AI is doing. We're not using the consumer AI. Let me put it that way, right? Make sense? So the AI is here. It's like 20 million humans, 20 million bots, 20 million, robots. The robot age is here. And I've been waiting since 1983. I even have a song. We'll put it next time. But you guys remember Mr. Roboto from 1983? Mr. Roboto. Bueno, AI was called the IBM brain. You see, we've been dreaming about AI. You can even go further, but I don't want to do that because I think we're done. Any other questions? Okay, and I'm approachable if you want to reach out. Again, import and export community, supply chain individuals, anybody you know in the import and export trade. We move 2,000 trucks, roughly, maybe 2,500 every day for the last 28 years. We have not grown. While Reynosa took off, and don't get me going with Laredo. Laredo has been the #1 port of entry, has been in Los Angeles 8 months in a row. Texas is hot. California is not. Interesting. Mexico is hot. China is not. So we are gonna go up. We just gotta get this open. It might take years, guys. This is not overnight. But it wouldn't start today. Then when? Right? But thank you for listening to the plugin.
All right. Thank you guys for coming today. Thank you to our presenters. Again, if they're going to be roaming around the room, so if you guys want to approach them after we are done, you're more than welcome to. Just a little announcements of what is going to happen in the next few weeks here at eBridge. Well, next week next week, obviously, we have our 1 million cups again. Next week, it's going to be a little interesting, a little different than what we usually do. So please do come and support our entrepreneurs. It's a surprise. Well, okay, it's a yeah. I'm not gonna say it. It's a surprise. It's really cool. Yeah, it's gonna be a demo, but it's gonna be very interesting. So we encourage you guys to come. Okay, so on October 26th, we have the continuation of the Community Health Innovation Series. This series focuses on social determinants of health and how they affect and our community. That is going to be October 26th again at 10 a.m. or 10:30 a.m., I believe. If you want to register, the QR code is there. And it's going to be, like I said, a series. So we're going to keep having them, I think, in November and another one in December. That same day, we have our Startup Texas for the SBIR STTR Accelerator Program. That is going to be in the evening. It's going to be held here at eBridge as well. We have one participant in the room. And then on December, we have the Emerging Industries Startup Texas for that accelerator. So again, we invite you guys to come and attend and support our entrepreneurs and their projects. And then January 2024, we have our next Kaufman for Brownsville. So if you're interested in participating, or if you know somebody that can benefit from it, the applications will open in a couple months, hopefully. And yeah, we have quite a few people that have been in Kaufman or that are currently in Kaufman in the room. Yes, ask them for feedback and ask them how it has benefited their business. And you're going to receive great responses, hopefully. Other than that, we are done for today. Please follow us on our social medias and enjoy some coffee. Thank you.